From alien to almost human, her life-changing earthly adventures, the morning sun cast long shadows across Central Park as Zira's escape pod hurtled through Earth's atmosphere, trailing silver sparks like a fallen star. With a tremendous crash that sent pigeons scattering and joggers diving for cover, her sleek vessel embedded itself between two oak trees, steam rising from its crystalline hull. Zira emerged, her luminescent blue skin shimmering in the dappled sunlight, completely bewildered by the cacophony of car horns, sirens, and human voices. Her large violet eyes darted around frantically as she tried to process this alien world. Everything seemed so chaotic. "Holy moly, what's that?" squeaked a small voice. 7-year-old Emma had wandered away from her mother to investigate the strange noise. She stood wide-eyed, clutching her stuffed elephant, completely unafraid of the otherworldly visitor. Before Zira could respond, a golden retriever bounded over, tail wagging furiously. The dog's owner, Marcus Chen, a young landscape architect on his morning walk, stopped short when he saw Zira. His coffee cup slipped from his hands, splashing hot liquid across his sneakers. Are you okay?" Marcus stammered, his dark eyes filled with concern rather than fear. There was something about his gentle demeanor that made Zira's twin hearts flutter unexpectedly. Yes, no." Zira's translation device struggled with Earth languages. "I am lost." The word came out as a question, her melodic voice carrying hints of stellar winds and cosmic storms. Officer Rodriguez arrived moments later, huffing from his sprint across the park. He took one look at the smoking pod and the blue-skinned girl and reached for his radio, then stopped. Something about the scene, the child's wonder, the young man's protective stance, the alien's obvious vulnerability, made him pause. "Miss, are you hurt?" he asked instead, his hand moving away from his weapon to his first aid kit. Zira observed these three humans with fascination. In her homeworld of Zirian Prime, strangers maintained formal distance, communication was telepathic, and emotions were considered primitive. Yet here, these beings radiated warmth, curiosity, and genuine care for someone they'd never seen before. Your kindness," Zira managed, her voice stronger now. "It is unexpected." Marcus stepped closer, offering his jacket as he noticed her shivering in Earth's unfamiliar climate. "You're cold. Here, take this." As their fingers brushed during the exchange, both felt an electric spark that had nothing to do with alien technology. Emma giggled. "She's pretty. Are you a princess from space?" "Something like that," Zira smiled, her first human expression. The simple joy on the child's face awakened something dormant in her chest, a warmth that spread through her entire being. Officer Rodriguez cleared his throat. "We should probably get you checked by a doctor and figure out, well, the paperwork situation." As they walked toward the park's edge, Zira marveled at the sensation of grass beneath her feet, the sweet scent of blooming flowers, and the complex symphony of city sounds. But most intriguing was the way Marcus kept glancing at her with those kind, intelligent eyes, as if she were a miracle rather than a problem to be solved. "What is this place called?" she asked. "Earth," Marcus replied softly. "Welcome to Earth, Zira." She hadn't told him her name yet, but somehow, in that moment, it felt like he'd always known it. 3 weeks had passed since Zira's arrival, and Marcus had become her unofficial guide to human civilization. The city had quietly absorbed her presence, just another eccentric resident in a place where uniqueness was celebrated. She'd been staying in a small apartment above the community arts center, funded by a mysterious benefactor who appreciated extraterrestrial refugees. No, Zira," Marcus laughed, gently guiding her hand. "The fork goes in your right hand, knife in your left. Well, for most people, you use them together." Zira stared at the peculiar metal implements as if they were ancient artifacts on Xerion Prime, nutrients were absorbed through photosynthetic patches on their palms. These tools, they seem unnecessarily complicated for transferring sustenance. It's not just about efficiency, Marcus explained, cutting a piece of his pancake and offering it to her. It's about the experience, the ritual, the connection. When she finally managed to take a bite, her eyes widened in wonder. This has layers of sensation, sweet, warm, soft. How do humans create such complexity from simple ingredients? Marcus watched her face light up with each new discovery. In the past weeks, he'd seen her puzzle over doorknobs. Why do you require manual manipulation to access spaces? Marvel at smartphones. This device contains the knowledge of your entire species. And get completely lost on the subway system, emerging 3 hours later with stories of the fascinating underground civilization she'd discovered. His phone buzzed. "Sorry, work call," he apologized, stepping away. Zira attempted to use her fork independently, accidentally launching a piece of pancake across the cafe. It landed in the coffee cup of an elderly woman at the next table, who looked up with raised eyebrows. "I apologize for my projectile breakfast," Zira said earnestly. The woman burst into laughter. "Honey, I've seen worse. You must be new to the city. New to the planet, actually. Aren't we all, dear, aren't we all?" Later that afternoon, Marcus took her to meet his friend Lily Rodriguez, Officer Rodriguez's daughter, and a local artist who ran painting classes at the community center. Lily's studio was an explosion of color and creativity, canvases depicting everything from abstract emotions to hyper-realistic cityscapes. "Art," Lily explained, "is how we humans express what words can't capture." Zira picked up a paintbrush hesitantly. On Xerion Prime, creativity was considered an inefficient allocation of resources, but as she drew the brush across the canvas, something magical happened. Colors flowed together like the nebulae she'd seen during her space travels, creating patterns that spoke to something deep in her alien soul. "This is beautiful," she whispered, staring at her creation. A swirling mix of blues and purples that somehow captured the loneliness of space travel and the warmth of her first human friendship. Marcus stood behind her, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "You're beautiful," he said softly, then blushed. "I mean, your art is beautiful, the way you see things." Zira turned to face him, their eyes meeting. In that moment, surrounded by the chaos of human creativity, she realized that her greatest discovery on Earth wasn't the complexity of their technology or the richness of their culture. It was the way this gentle human made her feel less alien and more alive. "Marcus," she said, testing his name like a new flavor. "Thank you for helping me learn to be human." "You don't need to learn to be human, Zira," he replied, his hand finding hers. "You just need to learn to be yourself, here." The farmers' market on Saturday morning became Zira's favorite human ritual. She walked between the stalls with Marcus, marveling at the explosion of colors, scents, and sounds. Vendors called out their wares while children ran between the booths and couples strolled hand in hand through the organized chaos. "Why do humans gather like this?" Zira asked, watching an elderly couple argue playfully over the ripeness of peaches. "Your supermarkets are more efficient for resource acquisition." Marcus selected a bouquet of sunflowers, handing them to her with a shy smile. "It's not about efficiency, it's about community, connection, the joy of choosing something, made with care." Zira accepted the flowers, confused by the strange flutter in her chest. On Xerion Prime, gifts were exchanged only during formal ceremonies to mark achievements or transitions. These flowers served no practical purpose, yet holding them made her feel, what was the human word? Happy. Their peaceful morning shattered when they encountered Zira's first human tragedy, A young mother sat on a bench, tears streaming down her face as she clutched a phone. Her toddler had wandered over to pet a vendor's dog, oblivious to his mother's distress. "I don't understand," Zira whispered to Marcus. "Why is she releasing water from her eyes? Is she malfunctioning?" "She's crying," Marcus explained gently. "It's how humans express sadness, pain, sometimes even joy." The woman noticed them staring and tried to compose herself. "I'm sorry, my husband was supposed to meet us here, but he's been deployed overseas, military. I thought I could handle it, but..." Without thinking, Zira approached the woman. On Xerion Prime, emotional displays were considered primitive, but something about this human's pain resonated deep within her core. "Your mate. He protects others?" Zira asked, sitting beside her. The woman nodded, surprised by Zira's unusual phrasing but comforted by her genuine concern. "On my world, we honor those who safeguard the vulnerable," Zira continued. "Your sadness, it shows the strength of your bond. This is beautiful." The woman's tears slowed as she looked at this strange, kind girl. "Thank you. That's actually really helpful." Later, at Lily's art class, Zira struggled to paint her emotions from the morning. Her canvas became a swirling mess of colors, the golden joy of Marcus's sunflowers mixing with the deep blue of the crying woman's sadness. "I don't understand human feelings," she confessed to Lily. "They seem to cause pain, yet you treasure them." "Emotions aren't just feelings," Lily explained, adding gentle strokes to her own painting. "They're how we connect to each other, how we know we're alive. Even the painful ones teach us something." Summer arrived in the city like a warm embrace, and Zira threw herself into experiencing every human pleasure she could discover. Marcus had become more than her guide. He was her anchor to this strange, wonderful world, and she was falling deeper in love with both Earth and him. "Today's agenda," Lily announced, spreading a blanket in the park, "is teaching our favorite alien about the sacred human ritual of the picnic." Marcus unpacked a basket filled with sandwiches, fruit and cookies, while Zira examined each item with scientific curiosity. "You prepare food, transport it outdoors, then consume it while sitting on the ground? This seems inefficient." "The inefficiency is the point," Marcus laughed, feeding her a strawberry. "Sometimes the best human experiences make no logical sense." The sweet fruit burst across her tongue, and Zira's eyes closed in ecstasy. "How do you capture sunlight in food?" she mused, making both her friends laugh. Their peaceful afternoon was interrupted by the sounds of a street festival nearby. Music drifted through the trees, salsa rhythms that made Zira's alien physiology respond in unexpected ways. Her body began swaying involuntarily. "The sound patterns, they're affecting my motor functions," she said, alarmed. "That's called rhythm." Marcus grinned, standing and extending his hand. "Come on, let's dance properly this time." In the middle of the festival, surrounded by couples spinning and laughing, Marcus taught Zira to salsa. She was surprisingly graceful, her alien reflexes adapting quickly to the intricate steps. Other dancers stopped to watch as she moved with otherworldly elegance, her blue skin shimmering under the festival lights. "You're incredible," Marcus whispered during a slow song, holding her close. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "On Xerion Prime, we don't touch like this, we don't feel like this." "How do you show affection?" "We don't. Relationships are arranged for genetic compatibility. Emotions are considered primitive." Marcus stopped dancing, cupping her face in his hands. "Zira, there's nothing primitive about what we feel. It's the most advanced thing in the universe." The next week, Zira insisted on learning to cook. Marcus's kitchen became a disaster zone as she attempted to understand human culinary arts. Flour covered every surface, and smoke poured from the oven, where her first attempt at cookies had transformed into charcoal sculptures. "I don't understand," she said, examining a burnt offering. "I followed your recipe precisely. 1 cup flour, 1 cup sugar, 1 cup butter." "Zira," Marcus said gently, trying not to laugh, "cooking isn't just about following instructions. It's about intuition, feeling, adjusting as you go. But that's so imprecise. That's so human." Their cooking lesson ended with them ordering pizza and eating it on his fire escape, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold and pink. Zira had never seen such beauty on her technologically perfect home world. "Marcus," she said, quietly, "I need to tell you something." His heart sank, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "I received a message from Zerion Prime. My people. They want me to return. They've developed new technology and need my research data about Earth." Marcus set down his pizza slice, suddenly losing his appetite. "When?" "Soon, maybe a few weeks." They sat in silence, watching the sun disappear behind the skyline. Finally, Marcus spoke. "Will you go?" Zira looked at him, really looked at him. His kind eyes, his gentle hands, the way he'd accepted her completely from that first day in the park. On Zerion Prime, she had a purpose, a role, a scientifically matched partner waiting for her. But here, she had something her people had never discovered. "I don't know," she whispered, then leaned against him. "I don't know who I am anymore. Am I Zerion? Am I human? Am I something in between?" Marcus wrapped his arms around her, pressing. A kiss to the top of her head. "You're Zira, that's enough, that's everything." The morning of departure arrived too quickly, painted in shades of grey that matched the ache in Zira's hearts. Her transport pod sat in the same spot where she'd first crashed, now repaired and ready to carry her back to the stars. A small crowd had gathered, not of curiosity seekers, but of friends who'd become family. Officer Rodriguez stood with his arm around Lily, who clutched a canvas bag filled with art supplies. "For when you get homesick," she said, tears threatening to spill, "paint us some alien sunsets." Little Emma ran up with her stuffed elephant, pressing it into Zira's hands. "Mr. Peanuts wants to go to space," she declared with the confident logic of childhood. "Take care of him, okay?" Zira knelt to Emma's level, her voice thick with emotion. "I promise he'll see the most beautiful stars in the galaxy." But it was Marcus who broke her heart. He'd been quiet all morning, helping her pack with mechanical precision, as if staying busy could delay the inevitable. "I have something for you," he said finally, pulling out a small wooden box. Inside, nestled in velvet, lay a simple silver locket. "Open it." The locket contained a tiny photo. Their first dance at the jazz club, captured by Lily without them knowing. They looked radiant, lost in each other, completely unaware of the camera. "So you don't forget," Marcus whispered, fastening it around her neck. "Marcus," Zira began, but he pressed a finger to her lips. "No goodbyes, just until next time." The transport pod hummed to life, its crystalline surface beginning to glow. Zira's people were punctual. The departure window wouldn't wait. She turned to address her gathered friends, these humans who'd taught her that love wasn't primitive. It was evolution. "On Zerion Prime, we believe efficiency is the highest virtue," she said, her voice carrying across the park. "But you've shown me something more important. You've shown me that the most worthwhile things in life, friendship, art, love, laughter, are beautifully, wonderfully inefficient." She hugged each of them, saving Marcus for last. When she reached him, words failed entirely. Instead, she kissed him with all the passion she'd learned from his patient teaching, pouring 3 months of love into a single, perfect moment. "I'll come back," she promised against his lips. "I'll be here," he replied, and she knew with absolute certainty that he would be. As her pod lifted into the morning sky, Zira pressed her hand against the window, watching her friends, her chosen family, grow smaller below. The locket rested warm against her chest, and Mr. Peanut sat securely in her lap. The journey to Zerion Prime took 3 Earth days, but felt like a lifetime. When she finally arrived at the gleaming spires of her homeworld, everything seemed smaller, colder, more sterile than she remembered. Her assigned partner, Keth 9, greeted her with the traditional mental connection, efficient, emotionless, precisely calculated for genetic compatibility. But when he touched her mind, he recoiled in shock. "You're contaminated," he said, backing away. "Your thoughts, they're chaotic, inefficient, filled with feelings." "Yes," Zira replied calmly. "I've learned to be human." The Council of Elders convened to examine her case. Her research data on Earth was valuable, but her emotional contamination was deemed dangerous. They offered her a choice: undergo neural reconditioning to remove her human memories and feelings, or face exile from Zerion Prime forever. Zira didn't hesitate. "I choose exile." As her pod broke through Zerion Prime's atmosphere for the final time, she felt only relief. She was going home. Not to the world of her birth, but to the world of her choosing. Marcus stood in the same spot in Central Park where they'd first met, just as he'd promised. When he saw her pod descending through the morning sky, his face broke into the most beautiful smile in any galaxy. "Welcome home, Zira," he said as she emerged. "I'm not alien anymore," she replied, falling into his arms. "I'm not Zerion. I'm not quite human. I'm something new." "What are you, then?" She looked around at the park where her adventure began, at Lily and Officer Rodriguez running toward them, at little Emma bouncing with excitement. She thought of art classes and farmers' markets, of dancing under city lights and sharing inefficient picnics on the grass. "I'm happy," she said simply. "I'm in love. I'm home." And as Marcus spun her around in the morning sunlight, Zira knew she'd made the right choice. She'd traded the cold perfection of the stars for the beautiful chaos of human love. Some distances, she realized, were worth crossing galaxies to bridge.